NES games. This was actually where I learned about my dad's rules, because really, I had never had a friend up until this point to ever challenge his rules.
Merry Christmas, Albert.
No, we ran over
And so we had this little transaction, Albert and I. I was going to borrow one of his NES games, and in return, he could borrow one of mine. Before he could borrow one of mine, I went ahead and borrowed his game. So I brought it home, and not long after I brought it home, I was playing it. And I'm playing this NES game that I borrowed from Albert. It was either Popeye on the NES, Donkey Kong, Athena, one of the NES games that Albert owned. And my dad comes in and he sees me playing this game that he didn't buy for me, that he knew I didn't own. And so he starts interrogating me. He's like, "Where'd you get this?" And I tell him, "Oh yeah, I'm borrowing this game from Albert." "Oh, okay.
I'll see you later, little brother."
And so after a little bit of him watching me play the game and us having a cordial conversation, I just nonchalantly say to him, "Oh yeah, and by the way, Albert wants to borrow one of my games." That's where you could start cutting the air with a knife. The tension rose in the room. You could cut it with a knife. Dad immediately was caught off guard, and he was like, "What? No. You don't let anybody borrow your games. Nobody can borrow your games." No friend had ever asked to borrow any of my games at this point. And so I remember being a little frustrated. "What do you mean I can't borrow it? I'm borrowing his game. Of course he can borrow one of mine. It's like a trade. We're trading." No. Your games are your games. None of your friends can borrow your games. And so this is where Dad introduced me to the unwritten law of the land. His rule of never letting anybody borrow my games. He said to me, "Tyler, look, I trust you with these games. I know that you're going to take good care of them because I taught you to take good care of your things. But I don't trust anybody else with this stuff. And this stuff is expensive. They could go home with your games and they could throw them around. They could drop them on the ground. Especially in the case of disc-based games, they could crack the disc, break them. They're not going to take care of the games like I know you will." I was still pretty flustered. I remember thinking, but I want to do this. I want to have these transactions with friends. Let them borrow my game and I could borrow their game. And it was fun. That was going to be fun, but no.
We're good.
You can't do it. They can come over anytime they want and play your games at your house. No problem. Open door policy. But when it comes to lending this expensive stuff to friends, it's to be broken. Thinking about my dad's upbringing,
how y'all doing, blah?
I understand that growing up in a household with parents that came out of the Great Depression, who they didn't have hardly anything when they were growing up, and so to own these games that were expensive, we're talking
here watching my retro life,
$50, $60, $70.
I like his old channel
in the early to mid 90s. I think a lot of you might be thinking right now, man, I don't know, Tyler, you can try to justify it as much as possible, but your dad seemed a little crazy when it came to this whole thing with borrowing games and taking, extreme care of these games. Well, there was an incident that happened when I was 3 years old that really, I think, is the explanation as to why this was such a big deal to Dad. When I was 3 years old, I had some neighbor friends come over to my house and asked to borrow my action figure. It was a Egon Spangler action figure from the Real Ghostbusters cartoon show.
"Hello, my name is Ghostbuster."
As a little kid, I said, "Okay, of course, you can borrow my Egon Spengler action figure, and these older kids, like they were like 9, 10 years old, took my Egon Spengler action figure, proceeded to go back to their house with it, and burn the action figure in their fireplace. They melted the top part of his head, and his face was burned, and they came back to my house, rang the doorbell. I opened it, and they handed it back to me. Here you go, Tyler. And then they ran off. I stood there as a 3-year-old, my eyes just welling up with tears. I started crying profusely. This is something I remember. It's not on video. I remember this like it was yesterday, though, because it was so traumatic. And it was this incident. I mean, my dad was furious at these kids for doing this to me. And I cried so much. I was so traumatized by this entire incident of burning my Egon Spengler action figure. Look,
What's that? Not burnt.
my dad made those kids apologize to me. We went back over to their house, and he made them apologize for what they had done to me, what they had done to my action figure.
And non-burnt Egon.
Wow, let's see him. I've never seen you not burnt.
It was from that point forward that my dad no longer trusted any of my friends with any of my things, especially when it came to expensive video games. So Albert, if you're watching right now, man, I'm sorry. You never had a chance borrowing my video games. It just wasn't going to happen, man. Even though it sounds like my dad was really strict and really hard on me when it came to letting friends borrow games, Dad was a very generous man. He was somebody who went out of his way to make sure that me, especially, but also my friends, make sure that they were careful. I specifically remember a time when Albert and I were with my dad at KB Toys. He was with us and we were doing some shopping.
Build the munches up. Build the munches up.
Albert didn't have enough money to buy Zen the Intergalactic Ninja on the NES. Great, obscure, phenomenal game. He really wanted to get the game. It was there on the store shelf at KB, and he came up a little short. Well, my dad was very generous and gave him the rest of the money that he needed. Something like, $10, something like that. And there were other times too where my dad would do that. He would go out of his way to be generous to my friends. And so I don't want you to leave this video thinking that my dad was stingy or selfish when it came to our possessions and the things that we owned. He just was raised to really make sure that the things that we owned were taken care of. For me as an adult, being a dad now too, I can't say that I have adopted the same way of thinking. I know for me as a dad, I want to let go a little bit and not hold on so tightly to those things. And I want Hallie, my daughter, I want her to grow up with a great sense of giving and letting other people not even just borrow our things, but even just have our things. There are a lot of people out there who are less fortunate, and it is good to give.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My boy always getting some shit out. Always getting some shit away, bro. Shotgun roll the shotgun. I'm gonna roll a goddamn shotgun. That's a real shotgun. Nigga talking, give me a shotgun, give me a shotgun.
Growth thicker, fuller hair in as few as 3 to 6 months with the doctor trusted
I don't know what a
ingredients.
shotgun is, son.
Hims prescription hair treatments are formulated with finasteride, proven to slow down hair loss.
Shotgun.
Minoxidil, proven to increase hair count.
Choke it to us up.
Less biotin, which helps support healthy hair. Choose from a range of products to power your hair gains.
Could have rolled a drip
Regrow
crop.
hair like a pro with doctor trusted ingredients. Start today at hymns.com.
I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna roll him. That big ass motherfucker. Appreciate it. Welcome.
Growing up in the late 80s and early 90s, my dad and I were the best of pals, and video games were what we bonded over most. But believe it or not, out of all the video games we owned and played together, there were some I loved that Dad simply hated. What's up, guys? It's your buddy Tyler coming at you with a brand new video here on My Retro Life. And as you can probably tell from the title and thumbnail of this video, I'm going to be diving into a top 10 list that really was very fun to put together because I had to go back into my memories of all the games that my dad and I loved and played together and think about those that I liked, but he really didn't like, and we didn't see eye to eye. Believe it or not, there were a bunch of them, and that's why this list exists. Coming in at number 10 is Super Mario RPG. We took a trip up to New York in 1996, but very little home video footage was recorded of this trip, but this was the trip that my cousins introduced me to Super Mario role-playing game. And I remember my cousins, they just loved it. They showed me the ropes. I remember them intricately teaching me how to do turn-based combat. And really, I started really enjoying role-playing games because of this game. It was my gateway into RPGs. And my good old Aunt Michelle actually bought me a copy on that trip. She realized and noticed how much I was enjoying the game, that she bought me a copy. Dad was not a fan of role-playing games. Just every single one of them, he hated the genre. He couldn't get, especially into turn-based JRPGs. They were just not his cup of tea. And that's why we didn't really see eye to eye on Super Mario RPG. He actually would tell me as I was playing the game, he would say, why is Mario a role-playing game? Like, it's supposed to be an action game. Why? I would rather be playing a Mario action game. Why make a Mario role-playing game? I remember him constantly saying stuff like that. Coming in at number 9 is Military Madness on the TurboGrafx 16. Now, I mentioned just before that Dad was not a fan of turn-based combat. And so, you know, a strategy war game was not his cup of tea either. And so when I first got introduced to Military Madness, it was my friend who owned a TurboGrafx 16, Chris, who lived across the street, was a big fan of the console. He and his dad owned it. The only game that his dad would play, really, ever, was Military Madness. And really, it's a great turn-based strategy game from Hudson Soft, an incredible developer, one of my favorite developers back in the day. Really, an excellent game here, but oh man, my dad would not have it. He just was not into it. And it's so funny, when I started getting into this sort of game, I remember him watching me play it, but really always just tuning out because it wasn't his thing. He never, ever played turn-based games like this. I mean, it was just not in his wheelhouse at all. It's not a Nectaris in Japan, which actually there's many more games in the series that got released. But Military Madness, that's the one that I remember most. It's so funny that Dad did not like this game. I bet if I really, back in the day, had sat with him and taught him and really worked on getting him to like this game, I think he would have liked it.
Good night, love, bud.
Today I'm going to walk you through how to remix tracks in BandLab. It can be a lot of fun to take a song that you're familiar
Good night,
with.
V-Love. Good night, good night, good night, V-Love.
Spin on it. So this original section sounded like this.
Sleep tight, Sweet Pea. Oh, whoever you big sweet tight.
Really worked on getting him to like this game. I think he would have liked it. Coming in at number 8, it's Bart's Nightmare, the Sing Sings. Yes, my dad did not like Bart's Nightmare on the Super Nintendo.
I don't like that game.
You're probably asking, well, you know, I can understand why. You're probably saying to yourself, yeah, it's not that great a game. Yeah, a lot of people don't like this game, but
good night, y'all.
This game
Take
came
care,
out,
man.
it really, truly looks
can't
like
hit
the
that like button for me.
come to life on your Super Nintendo. And sure, the gameplay is a little strange with this like surreal world that you're walking through. I mean, it's Bart's Nightmare. You're supposed to
I'm gonna go live tomorrow, though. I'm gonna go live tomorrow, though.
Yes, the controls aren't the best. It's kind of odd with the different mini games you have to play to collect
Talking
the different
Facebook and YouTube.
homework
I'm going live
pages
tomorrow,
that Bart
too.
has lost. And he's living out this dream. It's such a strange, bizarre game.
So, shout out to Sasha Gray and
But here's the thing.
shout out to V-Love on
Dad
YouTube.
did not
Shout out
like
to y'all.
The Simpsons. I know. It's crazy, right? I mean, everybody liked The Simpsons, right? You think so. But my dad, he did not like the character animations and the design of the characters, them all being yellow. And I think he also had seen the Tracy Ullman show where The Simpsons first debuted, and he just didn't like Matt Groening's style. And I remember him always complaining about how ugly the characters looked. And so The Simpsons was so out of left field and really crude looking to him, but I loved it. Coming in at number 7 is Earthbound on the Super Nintendo.
Oh, that's my
you
shit.
guys are probably thinking to yourself, what? Earthbound? Earthbound's one of the
Hey,
greatest
five
Super
them out. I
Nintendo
like all of them. Like
games,
Earthbound,
role-playing games of
2,
all
Earthbound 3,
time.
I
But
love all
here's
of
the
them.
thing, I told you, he didn't like role-playing games. Here's the thing, Earthbound, I loved Earthbound.
The original is
And
called
I've
Mother,
already seen
though.
the clip I already released of me getting Earthbound when I was a kid. Dad got it for me for my birthday. and
Yes,
so
I remember that
he
game.
hated RPGs, and so on top of
With the
that,
scratch
he
and
hated the
sniff
fact
smell
that
guy. We got
Earthbound
guidebook with the
was
scratch
such
and
a very
sniff. It
simplistic
smelled,
looking
you got
game.
bad
It
ass smell.
looked like
Old
an
pizza
8-bit
ocean.
NES game, and I remember him complaining about that when we had it, and even looking at it in the magazines. He wasn't a fan of the ad campaign that they put out
Yeah.
about the, with the, this game stinks and stuff. He really agreed with that. It's so funny.
Books,
The
thank-
marketing from Nintendo, he actually completely 100% agreed with that marketing. He would watch me play this and just be like, this doesn't look 16-bit. This looks like a Nintendo game. And guys, as much as we, talk about, hey, graphics aren't important, it's not about the graphics.
Shit, me, bro. It is
My
not about
dad,
the graphics.
and back in this day, graphics were a huge thing. Going from
Not
8-bit to
me.
16-bit, the bit wars, it was at the forefront of everybody's mind. And so I know for him, looking at Earthbound, he thought it was a major step backwards. And I didn't care. I loved it. Coming in at number 6 is Tasmania on the Super Nintendo.
I hated that
You're
game.
probably thinking to yourself, man, your dad must have really hated the Super Nintendo. This is not true. He did not hate it, but he was more of a Sega fan. This is true. And so Tasmania on the Super Nintendo, he felt paled in comparison to the Sega Genesis game that we got. Both games are very different. Tasmania on the Super Nintendo is more of a 3D perspective, third person behind Taz running towards the horizon, almost like a horizon chaser kind of game. You'd think a racing game would be like this, and it's very akin to racing games of the time. But you're racing against the clock. You're not racing against anybody else on this road that you're running on. You're really just trying to eat as many canary birds or whatever. I don't even know what kind of birds they are, but you're trying to eat as many as possible before the timer runs out and you have to meet a goal. It's very simplistic in gameplay. And I remember Dad really not liking how simple it was. I remember him complaining about how repetitive and how simple every stage was. And really, I think in his mind, he was comparing it to the Sega Genesis game. For as repetitive as it was, I really enjoyed that gameplay and that Mode 7 effects. The Super Nintendo was really showing off its Mode 7 effects that it was known for with this game. And so I think as a small child, I think I was probably 6 or 7 when I played it. It really was very charming to me. I loved it, but Dad did not like it. He really hated it. I remember him complaining about it so much to the point where I think he convinced me to actually return it. Coming in at number 5, now I know you all are going to think this is crazy, but it's Yoshi's Island on the Super Nintendo. Oh my gosh, Yoshi's Island, Super Mario World.
Dad ain't like
3.
that.
This was a game that I loved. It was like the best game I got Christmas of 1995, one of the best. And I played it to completion. I loved every bit of it. And it was just such a great game to me. I really, really enjoyed it. One of my favorite Mario experiences. But my dad did not like the game. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why? Why didn't you like Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island? And that is because of the art design. Now, I mentioned before with The Simpsons, he didn't like the art style. And so it's so funny, coming from a very artistic perspective, like he often did. He did not like the way the characters were designed to look like a storybook, like a children's storybook. It felt very kiddie and cutesy. I remember him complaining and being like, why does this look like a kid's coloring book? Like, why do this? This is such a, it was not appealing to him. He really didn't like that direction, that art direction, and that choice. Felt like it was just a huge mistake. And I remember defending this game to him when I was a kid. I remember, no, you're crazy, Dad. You know, this is a great game. It's so good. And I think eventually he saw through the art design and would watch me play and realize there was a lot of cool things in the game. But I think with the crying Mario baby constantly.
My mama ain't like
As you
this.
guys know, we're doing a lot off the grid.
She be like, man, cut the game down or catch that goddamn baby.
And we've also
She used to play it too, though. So that baby Christ.
Just a little preface.
Go ahead.
This is my first ever skin that I've had in the game. It looks
This is ignorant.
amazing.
You could barely play this thing. The controls were awful. You could barely see what was going on at the time. Even though I knew it was bad, even though I knew it was just terrible, that these games were awful, there was something so interesting and unique to me about this console. And I wanted to support it, and I wanted to collect for it. The worst video game console I ever owned.
Batman and Robin? Am I fainting here? Am I seeing this for real?
This episode is sponsored by Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery. You know, growing up, the best meals were the ones made at home. Whether it was mom or dad cooking in the kitchen, or even dinner at grandma and grandpa's house, there was just something special about those home-cooked meals. The smell, the warmth, the way everyone gathered around the table, it felt like love on a plate. And one thing they all had in common, they were always fresh, never frozen. Fast forward to today, and let's be honest, life is busy. That's what .com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Bring back the feeling of a good home-cooked meal with none of the work.
He's Brandon from Super Snake Texas, and he's the super winner of Nickelodeon's Super Toy Run Sweepstakes.
Ah, yes, a Toys R Us shopping spree. This was the stuff dreams were made of for kids like me growing up in the late 80s and early 90s.
Brandon, that was great. I mean, super.
I ain't never win that shit.
Super huge.
I signed up for that shit 1,000 times.
Winning these incredible shopping sprees on Nickelodeon and just going out of my mind with excitement and jealousy, wishing I could be one of those kids running down the aisles, grabbing as many toys as I could, and of course, as many video games as I could. Look at this kid just dumping Sega games into his cart. And what's this? A Tiger GameCom? 100 first prize winners win a Tiger toy collection, including GameCom. The Tiger GameCom handheld had to have been the worst video game console ever made. And this is the story of how I came to own one. Could I tempt you with a little GameCom? When I was 12 years old in 1998, I actually first encountered this video game console inside our local Toys R Us.
January 3rd.
That's right, so it's 1990.
Dad and I were actually out shopping for the latest Sega Saturn game that was released, Winter Heat. So I know specifically when this happened. It was sometime in February of 1998. I remember when we were going to get that game, I actually looked down the aisle a little bit past the Sega Saturn games, and I saw a row of Tiger GameCom games, and they stood out like a sore thumb. The titles that were there and were available were like 32-bit games, but being marketed and sold on a portable gaming console. So me and my 12-year-old brain, I was just drooling over these games thinking that they would run great on a portable gaming console. We had the likes of Sonic Jam, Duke Nukem 3D, Mortal Kombat Trilogy. I remember thinking, what if these games run just as well as they do like on the PlayStation or the Sega Saturn, but in the palm of my hand? Like, this will be incredible. And so I went up to Dad and I pointed it out to him. He was already done. He was already checked out because we were getting winter heat, and he had went off to go look at something else. But I pulled him over and I said, check out these games. What is this? Tiger Gamecom? And he took one look at it, guys, and immediately it was a no. He took one look at the name brand on that console, Tiger Electronics, and
What's
he
that,
just said,
Fable?
no way.
What's
There
that on
ain't
YouTube?
no
Y'all hit that
way
like.
I'm buying this thing.
Facebook. Hit that like
understandable.
and follow
He
button.
had good reason
YouTube,
to
hit the
not
like,
want to
subscribe.
buy a Tiger Gamecom.
Tiger puts arcade action in the palm of your hand. Games like
What's that, Tony?
Fight your way
Shit, I'm in the house, nigga.
stages of play as you attempt to defeat the villainous Dr. Wily, his evil dragon, and
I was
his
out today.
deadly robots to win. Also available, Shinobi, Altered Beast, and Super Sprint.
And
Tiger
we got that.
video games. Video excitement in the palm of your hand.
Tiger Electronics were notorious for making some of the worst quote-unquote video
Got a little
games
something on the cook.
ever.
We got a little something on the cook.
Oh, Sonic what is he?
YouTube, hit me with that like button. YouTube, hit me
These
with
are
that
the
like,
types of
subscribe.
things you got
Facebook,
on your
like
birthdays
and follow.
and Christmases because your
Share
extended
your shit,
family
Joey.
knew you loved video games, but they didn't know video games.
Disney's DuckTales and Tailspin games from Tiger. Batteries not included, each sold separately.
Really, guys, Tiger Electronics was like the
Shit,
ultimate
Chilico.
scam because what they were doing was just
But
buying
Jim
up
Facebook
the
say what
rights
you
to all
doing.
these amazing franchises like hit
Chilico.
cartoon shows, blockbuster movies, and yes, even hit video games from the likes of Nintendo and Sega. And they were making these cheap games that were like bottom of the barrel.
Sarah on
Talking about
Facebook
the
say what?
worst.
Well, I'm watching My Ritual Life. My Ritual Life.
They were worse than Atari games as far as visually. And
Y'all,
the joke that
Facebook
these things were
subscribe
like
more on YouTube, though,
2
but I
frames per
appreciate
second,
it, though.
Because basically that's all they were just these still images.
I ain't really
on
doing
the
shit, chilling and
screen.
smoke.
You have this
I ain't doing
LCD
nothing but chilling and
screen,
smoke.
the jerkiest
I'm trying to see what
animations.
YouTube got to say. YouTube just chill and watch me.
Even when I was a kid playing this stuff, I knew that it was like phony and fake.
Just chilling and
Like, this
relaxing.
wasn't the real deal. Give me a Game Boy where I can actually feel like I'm playing my NES on the go on a portable screen. No, Tiger Electronics games were like, they felt like
So you
bootlegs.
say,
They
I
felt
read
like
comments on
the
YouTube too.
biggest
Yeah,
scam
I read comments
in
on
the
both
entire
of them.
video game industry.
Tiger LCD video games.
But here's the thing, guys. I didn't own too many of these games because my dad would never buy them. He knew better. No, there was no way he was putting down his hard-earned money on something that was terrible. And he did his research. He knew what was good and what was bad.
People beard, you're gonna want one of these. If you've never seen one of these, it's a beard liner. And make sure you get perfect lines every time you're shaping your beard. So you're never gonna be uneven. You can go with a straight line, more curves, take every neckline, and it even has a little comb on it so you can shape up the rest of your beard. I found this one on TikTok Shop and it costs less to nothing. I'm gonna link it right here, check it out for yourself.
And he did
I don't
his
know.
research. He knew what was good and what was bad. Tiger was fooling nobody. At least nobody in my house.
nigga. Look at what you told me to do. Ugh. So yeet to the D, nigga. Shit.
It was fooling nobody. At least nobody in my house. It was fooling nobody. At least nobody in my household. And so when it came to that name and that brand, there was no way Dad was touching it.
Gamecom, the ultimate portable gaming system.
I remember seeing the commercials for Tiger Gamecom. They had some pretty good marketing muscle behind the whole console, but honestly, they weren't very compelling to me because they would show the game in motion, and it really didn't look that impressive. I was so intrigued just by the sheer fact that some of the titles, some of these games that were coming out on the Gamecom were 32-bit games, like modern games of the time, with only Jurassic World, Fighters Megamix. I mean, guys, we had the Sega Saturn and we had Fighters Megamix, and that thing looked incredible back in 1998. And there was no way in my mind that that game could be put onto the Tiger Gamecom portable and look even a fraction as good as it did on the Sega Saturn. But my curiosity kept getting the best of me. I kept wondering, how could Sega even sign off on some of these games, or Capcom? How could they sign off on a Resident Evil 2 port on the Tiger Gamecom if it wasn't in some way redeemable or worth it? Honestly, guys, by late 2000, early 2001, there really weren't any video game consoles that were off the table for Dad.
Wow.
We were full-blown video game collectors, snatching up old retail products that were being discontinued and thrown off store shelves. I mean, we were looking for video game consoles to collect. And then one fateful day in early 2001, I was out shopping with Dad again when I ran into an old, forgotten friend.
What is this? Looks like Gamecom was on sale.
I'll never forget it. Dad and I were actually checking out some of the shops in downtown Sugar Land, Texas. There was this toy store there that we went into, and this was one of those kind of, boutiques that specialized in import toys, or, toys that were geared more towards people that were just there visiting, tourists. We were just looking around, checking this place out. We'd never been there before. This was like the first time we were there. And we're looking around at various toys inside this store when suddenly I see it hanging on the wall. A blister pack with Tiger Gamecom. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, there it is.
Gamecom active.
The Tiger Gamecom.
Gamecom, the ultimate portable gaming system.
I hadn't really laid eyes on one since that day back in Toys R Us when the product was brand new in 1998. This was the Model 2 Tiger Gamecom, and it was sleeker, a little more rounded, much smaller, and definitely just had a more attractive look to it with its green silver finish and that sort of translucent green that was so popular back in 1999, 2000, like all the old IMAX. This thing was calling out to me. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, man, Tiger Gamecom. What if we started collecting for the Tiger Gamecom? Here it is, right here in this store. I went up to my dad and I showed it to him. I physically had it in my hands. I showed him the Tiger Gamecom. That day in that strange toy boutique in Sugar Land, Texas, Dad was able to put aside all of his hatred for Tiger Electronics for one moment, and he bought me the Tiger Gamecom.
Gamecom cartridge.
I was so excited to finally own a Tiger Gamecom. I actually took my dad's home video camcorder and decided to document the entire experience.
Yes, we picked this little wonder up for $10. $10 for a portable video game machine. I find that a little crazy. Yes, the games are great. The games are amazing. $5 each. $5. $5. Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Wow. Seems like a pretty good game for a system that died.
Are you looking for more in this world? Are you ready to be part of something bigger?
And what do we have here? Indy 500?
It
want
was
to play
just
this.
terrible for it.
And
It was just terrible.
wow, how could a system like Gamecom have such incredible games?
Even though I knew it was bad, even though I knew it was just terrible, that these games were awful, there was something so interesting and unique to me about this console that I wanted to support it and I wanted to collect for it.
And yes, it is in 3D, and it is a great system, but one problem is you can't see the screen very well. It's hard to play the games. You have to strain.
The Tiger Gamecom had failed miserably, but collectors like me and Dad were the ones who benefited from the death of a console.
Just thought we'd document this little wonder of tricks here. That's Tyga. People who made those LCD little junk things have made a video game machine, portable system, and have made great games.
The Tiger Gamecom was like the Ed Wood of video games. It was so bad, it was good in some weird, crazy way.
Batman and Robin? Am I fainting here? Am I seeing this for real? Such incredible titles like this on a system that sold hardly anything and practically was wiped off the
Nah,
shelves.
Tiger sold everything. Tiger sold everything.
Interesting.
Collecting the Tiger Gamecom felt unique to me. I didn't know anybody else on the planet that collected Tiger Gamecom. And I thought, one day I'll have the entire collection and I'll be proud.
It just keeps getting better, doesn't it?
Okay, we'll get the goddamn fan up here. I'm gonna find me a movie to watch, man. Huh? What? What? How? Who? Everybody ain't been watching movies and shit. Shit, goddamn it, motherfucker.
Getting better, doesn't it? Getting better, doesn't it? Arcade classics. Oh my god. May we present Duke Nukem 3D on a 2D system? Or wait a second. It is in 3D. Duke Nukem 3D.
These games really were the worst of the worst, though. I mean, the screen was awful. It just looked horrible in motion. There was this terrible motion blur, and you could barely even see or understand what was going on half the time.
I can't see none. I'm gonna go do that. Ooh, that's what sound.
I can remember sitting there trying so hard to enjoy games like Sonic Jam, which to me was like, wait, Sonic Jam on the Sega Saturn was a compilation of the first 3 Sonic games. You mean to tell me that they put the first 3 Sonic the Hedgehog games on this little tiny cartridge on this terrible gaming console? I gotta check this out. Guys, I could barely get to like the 2nd level in this game. That's how terrible it was.
Man, Tiger had the Lion King there. I hear them now.
You could barely play this thing.
Oh, well, I guess that's it, yeah. The Lost World.
Get the fuck out of here.
God, it just keeps getting better.
Tyler, are you out of your mind? This is the worst video game console I ever owned.
Yes, it keeps getting better.
It look like the word video game, yo. Oh no. That sound like all brand Freddy Krueger.
When I look back on this footage and I see myself trying my best to be like my dad,
It depends on how much them over
a
cost.
new video game console that had entered the house that we were collecting and experiencing together. I know at the time what I was trying to do. I was trying to capture a little bit more of that magic. You know, at the time I was almost 15 years old and life was really moving by quickly. My childhood, I could literally feel it starting to slip away.
Hey, that's what I got down my
And I
retro
think,
life.
honestly,
That's
that's even why I was so interested in this console to begin with. I wanted to have another experience with a console launch with Dad, but Dad, he was not into this thing at all. And even though he was happy to get it for me and happy to get me some games and collect for it, he didn't like the console. I think he was allowing me some space to explore and get familiar with the camera.
It has come to my attention that Tiger will no longer be putting out any more games for this whole system. So, it might become what we call a dead system, which, in my terms, is a rarity.
It was around this time I started making my own little short films. I started making movies as a student filmmaker.
Yeah, see, now I got my membership. I want to know all that.
It's filmmaking.
See, I want all that.
Who the heck is that man?
The Tiger Gamecom became the subject of my little short films in some way. A short film that I shot but didn't edit or produce until this day, so many years later.
Bye-bye. Quick, to override this function, please press the correct combination of buttons. Oh my god. What do I push? A, B, or C? I don't have much of a choice. A, B, C? B, C, A? I don't want this to end. No. Okay. How about D, C?
And you know what? The Tiger Gamecom had some potential. It had some charm.
That's rough.
Thanks to be touched. Wired you to the internet. And plays more games than you idiots have brain cells.
But there was just no way it was going to ever put a dent in the market dominated by Nintendo. I mean, later that year in 2001, we got the Game Boy Advance. Let that soak in. The Game Boy Advance came out the same year they were still trying to sell the struggling Tiger Gamecom. And while I really, honestly, never truly loved the games on the